What's up, you guys, and welcome to the Verdant Growth Daily, where we give you the news, tips, and tools you need to live eco. My goal is to help put you in the right mindset to live more in line with your own values and to change your life to make it more fulfilling, sustainable, and balanced with nature, all in 5 minutes a day. In theory, so far up until now, I haven't actually been able to do this in 5 minutes. Every time I end up talking for way longer than I should. Besides the point, my name is Eugene, and this is episode 5 of the Verdant Growth Daily. Today, we're going to be talking about why plastic recycling is a myth. Like I was just saying before, I am going to try to keep this one a little bit shorter. I end up rambling a lot on this daily. So I'm going to try to see if I can't actually keep this one to 5 minutes. So here we go. Yesterday, I talked a lot about A Plastic Ocean, the documentary that you can find on Netflix, and you can actually watch the whole thing on YouTube for free. So if you haven't actually watched it yet, I would recommend you go check that out. But I also got a question from somebody, and that was, why can't we just recycle all this plastic waste? You're talking about not using plastic waste, but we can just recycle it, right? Well, plastic recycling is mostly a myth. And today we're going to talk about why. So here's basically how plastic recycling works. Plastic recycling basically happens when you take plastics and you blend it all down into smaller and smaller pieces, which then get melted down and reshaped into something new, reformed into something new. So basically, the reason plastic recycling is a myth is not because it's not possible, but just because it's much cheaper to produce new plastics than it is to collect plastics, sort plastics into all their different types, make sure that they are completely pure, and then melt them down and reshape them, which doing all of that creates more greenhouse gases in the process. And this is assuming that it is a recyclable type of plastic, which many are not. So why plastic recycling is a myth is due mostly to the fact that we don't actually do much plastic recycling here in the States. Most of it ends up getting shipped to China, where China does a lot of plastic recycling, or at least they did. They haven't recently. Basically, in America, what has happened is that in order to convince people to buy more plastics and to feel more comfortable buying plastics, the fossil fuel industry has run campaigns for decades trying to convince people that plastic is recyclable and that we can all use it without worry. That plastic recycling logo, that was actually developed, I believe, by the fossil fuel industry. It was all put there to make us feel better. But it turns out most of that was kind of a lie. Of all the plastic that we use here in the US, only about 8.5% of it ever gets recycled, and most of it doesn't get recycled in America. A lot of that was, until recently, shipped to China to be recycled, with very, very, very little amounts of recycling actually happening in America. But in 2018, China, who was inundated with plastic wastes coming in from all different countries, they stopped accepting plastic waste. So ever since that happened, America has been trying to figure out what to do with their plastic wastes. And in a lot of cases, it's just piling up at recycling centers. And just because there's so much of it coming in every day, a lot of it is just being sent to landfills. So most of it ends up not getting recycled anyway. A lot of the things that, even if you put it in your recycling bin, it is not likely to get recycled at this point in time. There is just no cost-effective way of recycling plastics at this time. So this is why plastic recycling is a myth. It's possible to do. We know how to recycle plastics. We can recycle plastics, but It's just much, much, much cheaper to make new plastics, especially because the fossil fuel industry is pushing for more sales of plastics, more use of plastics. They are trying to sell this as much as they can because it's a way for them to make money. Some reports have even said that the plastic industry, or that the oil industry, because the amount of fossil fuels being used in power generation is decreasing, they are trying to shift their strategies to ways of selling more and more plastics. Maybe not just in America, but maybe now trying to push more plastics to China or Southeast Asia or India or Africa. They're trying to find ways of selling more plastics. We lived for hundreds and thousands of years without plastics. We can definitely live without plastics. The oil industry has made it really, really hard to do. They have used plastic and they've injected it into our lives in a way that we really feel like plastic is necessary to live for the level of convenience and comfort that we have these days. But even in modern times, certainly hundreds of years went by without us using any kinds of plastic. We did things like glass milk bottles. We used to get milk delivered to your door in a bottle, which you could reuse over and over and over again. Back in those days, we didn't treat everything as disposable. That is what our culture has come to now. We've now arrived at a point in time where we think of everything as being disposable. If we don't need it, we just throw it away in the garbage can and it disappears and it's gone. But nothing ever disappears, especially plastics. When you throw that away, you're not actually making it disappear. It's not going anywhere. It's just changing locations from your house to a landfill, to the ocean, to the streets. The plastic will never ever go away, and we have to accept that. And we have to think about that when we make our purchases. Every time we buy something, if it's got plastic in it, it's something that you are not going to have to deal with in your lifetime probably, but somebody for the next 1,000 years is going to have to deal with that plastic waste that you created. So that is the most important message that we can get from all of this. Recognize, or at least recognize, that plastics, while recyclable, are mostly not being recycled. Use that in your everyday decision making. Think about it every single time. This is something that I'm going to buy, and it is going to be on this planet for the next 500 years, 1,000 years. Is that something you want the responsibility for? In my case, I'm not saying that I don't buy plastic things ever. I still own a lot of plastic things in my life. If I look around this, my computer is made out of plastic. My keyboard is made out of plastic. My microphone is made out of plastic. I have plastics all around me. But we have to start treating plastics like the valuable material that it is. It lasts forever. It's a fantastic material, but we shouldn't treat it as being disposable. So if there's anything I want you guys to take home with you today, it's don't think of your plastics as disposable. They are not. They will be here forever and ever and ever. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Be sure to check me out on social media and everything. Links down in the description below or on the screen. I really, really appreciate everybody who has tuned in to listen to me. I thank you so much. Eugene and Verdant Growth, out.